Good evening and welcome. As President of the Board of Trustees of the San Angelo Independent School District, I would like to welcome all of you who are present at tonight's regular board meeting. I also welcome those of you who are watching the recording of this meeting online or on our public access channel. We appreciate your interest in the activities of our students and the business of SAISD. All items that will be discussed at our meeting this evening have been posted as required by state law. Also, as you may be aware, our board meets a minimum of 2 times per month, and most, if not all, of the items on our agenda this evening have previously been discussed at our earlier pre-agenda board workshop. As members of the SAISD Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports from our superintendent, approve budgets, contracts, and personnel appointments, and to make policy for the district. Please keep in mind that our meeting is a meeting of the Board of Trustees held in public and not a meeting of the public. However, we have a public comment item on every one of our meeting agendas that allows anyone present who wishes to speak to our board team on an item not on our action agenda or an action item on the agenda an opportunity to do so. Please provide your name and contact information and the specific topic you wish to address on a public comment forum located at the back of the room should you want to speak on an issue this evening. Please listen carefully and comply with the following rules so you can move through this part of the meeting efficiently. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes. The district will provide an official timekeeper. Please respect the privacy of others and refrain from identifying students, employees, or other community members by name. Disruption of the meeting will not be tolerated at any time. Comments on any subject, whether positive or negative, must be courteous and respectful. Comments are limited to the specific topic you indicated on the form you filled out. Any speaker with a specific complaint about a district employee, decision, or operational issue should present that complaint through the appropriate mechanism, which is the district's formal grievance process. If you have a pending grievance being processed by the district, please remember you will not be permitted to speak about that during public comment. Also, please understand if you speak to us on an item not on our action agenda, that the board cannot reply to you except to thank you for your comments since the matter has not been posted for discussion. In compliance with state law, these proceedings are recorded and will become part of SAISD's permanent legal record. In order that the recording will adequately reflect the proceedings, I ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking. I also ask, as I remind my fellow board members, to please turn off or silence your cell phones. Again, thank you for being here and for your support of SAISD. Sorry, checking my own phone. With that, we're going to move forward with our invocation. CJ Lucky, the student leadership pastor at Pauline Baptist Church, is here this evening to assist us with that. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir. It's an honor. Thank you guys, board. We greatly appreciate you guys and how you serve. Everybody, let's bow our heads and let's go to the Lord in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, first and foremost, we just thank you for the honor, the privilege it is to approach your throne of grace. Thank you for the sacrifice of your Son, Jesus Christ, Father. We have communication to you, Father. We just ask, Father, as we get ready to prepare for this board meeting that's about to take place, Father, that you give us wisdom. Father, we just thank you for the board and how they serve, Father, and that you will grant them wisdom. You said in your word in James chapter 1, verse 5, Father, that if anyone lacks wisdom, to ask you, and you will give it generously and without finding fault, that we will have it unto us. And Father, you also said in the book of Proverbs, Father, without wise counsel, plans fail, but in the multitude of advisors, they succeed. So, Father, we pray for wisdom today. Father, we thank you for our community, our beautiful community of San Angelo, Father, that you continue to wrap our community in your loving arms. We just thank you so much for the family-oriented community we have here, Father, and that we love to serve students and educators, Father, and we do everything for the best interest of them, Father. So we just thank you so much for what you're doing, not only in our community, but through our community, Father, and we truly believe the best is still yet to come, Father. We thank you, and we submit this in your precious Son, Jesus' holy name, I pray, the name above every single other name there is. Everybody say, amen.
Thank you. So now we are lucky to have some elementary school students from Crockett Elementary. We have Crosby Huppard, Tucker Field, Olivia Lopez, and Charlotte Arneson, and they're going to stand up and we're all going to join them. We're going to say the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
All right. Thank you all parents for getting your kids here and helping us with that this evening. Thank you kids from Crockett Elementary. Next, we're going to move forward with some recognitions. And first, Shannon Schwartz is going to help us recognize our military students and appreciation to the men and women of Goodfellow Air Force Base.
Good afternoon. So across our nation, April is designated as Month of the Military Child. It's a time set aside to recognize a very special group of young people. Here in San Angelo, their stories are a part of the fabric of our community. They sit in our classrooms, play on our teams, and bring a sense of strength and resilience to San Angelo that's truly inspiring. These students face challenges that many of their peers don't, including frequent moves, long separations from parents, and the constant adjustments that come with military life. And yet, they show up every day with courage, optimism, and a willingness to adapt. They remind us what it means to be strong in the face of change and adversity. San Angelo ISD is proud to serve nearly 500 military-connected students, and we are equally proud that 5 of our schools, Bel Air Elementary, Glenmore Elementary, Glen Middle School, Lone Star Middle School, and Central High School have earned the Purple Star designation from the Texas Education Agency. This recognition speaks to our commitment to welcoming and supporting these students and their families. So now we just want to take a moment to send a heartfelt thank you to our military friends and families within Goodfellow Air Force Base. Your children inspire us, and your presence strengthens our schools and our community. Your contributions to this community don't go unnoticed. This month and always, we celebrate our military kids, and we stand beside them with gratitude and pride.
Thank you, Shannon. Next, we're going to do recognition of the Lakeview Boys and Girls Powerlifting, and Coach Rodney Chance is going to help us with that.
Right there in the middle. Thank you, Dr. Keeman, Dr. Moran, Board of Trustees. It's an honor to recognize boys and girls state powerlifting qualifiers. Our third young man is on his way. He's at baseball practice, and he's about a minute away. So hopefully we're not done by the time he gets here. So first off, I want to recognize Malia Briones, who is a senior. Malia was the regional champion in the 181 weight class and was 10th at state this year. We also have Janiyah Jefferson, who is a junior. She was runner-up at regionals in the 259 weight class. She holds the regional record for the deadlift at 425 pounds. She finished third place at state this year in the same weight class. She set a new state deadlift record on all 3 attempts, going 410, 425, and then 440. So being a junior, she's going to blow that away next year. There's no doubt about that. So next we have, and he's not here again, Ethan Packard. Ethan is a junior. He was the regional champion in the 132 weight class, and he finished 4th at state this year. So 2 of the 3 will be coming back, and so we expect great things to happen. And the head coach for the Chiefs and Maiden Powerlifting team is Sergio Plata. So if you wouldn't mind giving them a round of applause for an outstanding season. Come on in, Ethan. This is Ethan Packard, and finished 4th at state this year in the 132 weight class. Ethan, you went to state last year, correct? That's what I thought. Janiyah, you went to state last year? And Brianna, you what? Oh, you broke your arm last year, okay. If you're relatives of one of these athletes, would you please stand and be recognized as well? We appreciate your support for them throughout the season. Thank you very much. Yep.
All right. Those people are strong. So next we're going to do recognition of San Angelo ISD Difference Maker Day, and Shannon is here to help us again.
Okay, hello again. Tonight we're honored to recognize the incredible generosity of our community partners who joined us in celebrating the heart of San Angelo ISD, our educators and our staff. Across the district, our team members impact nearly 13,000 students every single day. During our 4th annual SAISD Difference Maker Day on March 7th, officially proclaimed by Mayor Gunter, 30 community partners stepped up in a really big way. They adopted campuses and departments across the district, delivering thoughtful treats and messages of appreciation to almost 2,000 team members. Several even supported multiple locations, ensuring our difference makers felt truly seen, uplifted, and valued. Their generosity reminds us of how powerful community can be in supporting the people who shape the future of our students in our community every day. We sincerely appreciate these amazing partners. So now if you would just look at the screen. These are some of the incredible partners that make what we do possible and really make an impact in the lives of our students and educators. So please join us as we thank these amazing partners and help support Difference Maker Day.
All right, next is item 5, public comment. Shannon, do we have anyone signed up over there? No. All right, we'll move forward with information items. And we're going to start with an update on Head Start programming considerations, and Dr. Gomez is going to help us with that. Yeah, you're going to be there for a second.
Dr. Kingman, Dr. Moran, and members of the board, this evening we want to give an update as part of our district facility discussions, specific with the district and the Council of Government for Head Start. As you all are aware, currently COG, the Council of Government, occupies 2 of the district facilities, Rio Vista and Day. So as we've been reviewing all of the district's facilities, as you all are very well aware of our needs charts, and not only did we review our facilities occupied with students, but every facility that we maintain in the district. So we know with both Rio Vista and Day, there's a lot of work for those particular campuses. Also, Dr. Brandon has previously shared age of these facilities as part of our overall district facility updates. So talking specifically with Day and Rio Vista, looking at the age of those facilities and the year they were built and the number of years in age and the cost to continue to maintain, even though we do have an agreement with COG. It is expensive on the district's end. Most important in everything we do, we know it's Dr. Moran's belief as well, above all, students first. So a facility is simply a facility. It's the academic connections that occur in those facilities that directly impact our student outcomes. While we have a great partnership with COG, we know from our district data, the earlier we can have students in any structured environment, the better for their school success. We've had numerous conversations about pre-kindergarten students, if they've had experiences or not, and then entering our kindergarten classrooms. So while yes, age of facilities is one consideration, we really want to impact the academic consideration that goes alongside both the financial impact. So it's not a new conversation about the number of students in SAISD that enter kindergarten well below grade level. It's important that we have strong partnerships with all agencies, and especially in working with COG as they serve 3- and 4-year-olds in the community as well. So as a part of all of these considerations, from our partnerships to analyzing the age of our facilities, To recap prior conversations, we've already shared with all of you, and most importantly with our staff, moves that we know that are going to take place. So it's not new news to you that Sam Houston, our special programs department, and I do want to clarify special programs because sometimes that's said just as special education, where special education is one special program. Sam Houston also includes 504, dyslexia, multiple programs outside of just special education. So those staff members are set to move to the former Oaks building, and those moves will take place at the 1st of May. We're very lucky to have great people. This is coordinated efforts between Mr. Henry's staff, between Mr. Kennedy's staff, between curriculum and instruction staff to make all of these things move, and most importantly, that we don't stop services to students and families. So that's why the moves are very coordinated. And Sam Houston will first move in tiers May 5th, May 7th, and May 9th, and they will occupy the upstairs portion of the former Oaks building. And also, it's not new information for you, but to recap, additionally going to those facilities, Carver will be housed in the annex portion of the Oaks facility. Carver will not be moved until after school is out. We do not want to interrupt the learning environment for students. Additionally, Pays will be moved to the same Oaks facility, but they will be located downstairs. Many of you are very familiar with that facility. So when you first go onto the Oaks facility, there's the double main doors, but there's an entrance to the left of the shade structures. There's a small set of stairs and a door. Pays would be located on that side of the lower section of the Oaks building.
Of the newer side,
Yes.
the newer building.
Yes, correct. The side for Carver is the historical building, the annex. Yes, it too would have a separate entry point for students, Mr. Gallegos. So what that does, it allows Carver and Pays to be on one facility, but very important for DAP requirements, it allows the students that are at Carver to be separated from the other students on the facility, because also as a reminder for everyone, our CTE double block classes for both Lakeview and Central are in the back portion of the facility off of Magdalen, okay? And it also allows, we're very fortunate that Ms. Becerra, who is the principal of Carver and the coordinator of Pays, is able to juggle multiple responsibilities, but split locations has been a barrier where she could not be on site for both programs, and now she will. So going back to those financial efficiencies through this district facility review process, again, students always come first, but what this also does is it allows the district to make appropriate reduced staffing decisions. When you have more staff centrally located, it does eliminate the need for some additional positions. A great cost is the reduction for safety and security. Currently, for example, at the CTE double blocks, we don't have an officer on campus every day. This would have an officer on that facility for all the programs that are housed there. Carver, Pays, and the CTE classrooms. Utility savings, we know the increased costs we feel as private homeowners. You all review every month the district utility, gas, and water and sewer costs. So again, by eliminating all the multiple auxiliary facilities, there's a savings there. This is a big savings for Mr. Kennedy's department in the reduced facility maintenance, which puts less of a strain on his department. And then last but certainly not least, there is the eventual property and casualty insurance savings on those vacated properties. So really just want to go back because that was the big overview, but wanted to starting back to that partnership with COG. Okay, y'all already had all the information about Sam Houston, Pays, Carver. You knew the district was in conversation with COG about what do we need to do for better conditions for your staff and students from day in Rio Vista, and academic improvements for having students more aligned with SAISD's pre-K and kindergarten programs. So all of these multiple conversations have been ongoing, and we continue to work with COG to make the move where we can put them on a better facility and not have to run both Rio and day. Do you have general questions that I can answer?
I just have a couple quick, easy questions. So the special programs, it's all staffing that's going to be upstairs, no students? Is that
Correct, because Sam Houston's does not house any students.
Okay.
It houses all the various staff members that work to support the services offered through special programs.
Gotcha. And what are the plans, or we may not have any plans to do with the old facilities at this time? Like day and...
I'll comment on that. So our plan is when we vacate to go back and evaluate and then bring a recommendation to the board. I think it's going to be a case by case, depending on the campus, the age, the condition. We have a decision to make on whether or not it's worth to repair the buildings, put new roofs, new HVACs, repair, plumbing issues. If it's not worth it, then the recommendation will be to raise the building and then decide as a district what we want to do with that property. A good example, Sam Houston. I don't think it's premature to already tell you, I don't see that Sam Houston's got a bright future. When we vacate that building, we'll evaluate it, but from the initial evaluation, it doesn't look like that would be a campus we would use to put kids in or programs in. So then it just boils down to the cost of remediating and, the asbestos and what's the cost of demoing the building. So that's a case by case.
Excellent. Thank you.
And Dr. Moran, just on that note, just as a board, occasionally we get comments about an old elementary that the district no longer owns. And so I think making sure that and for those neighborhoods that those buildings are in, we make sure that we're being conscientious about what we do with those properties so they don't just deteriorate among people's homes.
I mean, Travis Elementary is an example of that. It's, well-meaning, good intentions, but it sits vacant, and it really is an eyesore there for the community. I will make an additional comment about the whole Head Start conversation because it started with the West Texas Rehabilitation Center provides related services for those kids. Those kids are not enrolled in our district, by the way. There's more than 400 kids that are 3 and 4 years old that we don't touch. We don't know who they are, only if they come to us in kindergarten. But there was some billing issues there with West Texas Rehabilitation and Head Start, and West Texas Rehab wasn't able to provide the services needed. So now for several months, there's been a disconnect there, and we're looking, that's where the conversation started. How can we re-engage for those kids that will ultimately, hopefully be our kids? How can we get them involved in an academic classroom with our employees, with related services being provided to them? And so there's been some really productive conversations between West Texas Rehab and the COG, Head Start specifically. And I think there's really some opportunity here for this to be a win-win-win for the kids, for the COG, for West Texas Rehab, and for San Angelo ISD.
Okay, well, let me comment. I know we had the Head Start up until 2 or 3 years ago, 4 years ago? 5 or 6 when we got away from it. And one of the reasons we got away from it is because we couldn't change, we had to teach their curriculum. What COG provides? Yeah, the Head Start, we couldn't use our curriculum in there. So how would we bypass it, or how could we do something?
Well, we're in discussion.
So where we can get those 400 kids ready to come into.
We're in discussion with them. Part of it's the grant and how they've operated their program, but they are absolutely on board with trying to make this work for their kids, because what we think can help, if you think about the staff and the teaching and the professional learning that goes on, if we provide support for them through that process as well and give them a better space to learn, we think that we can really move the needle. And the curriculum has been a point of conversation, and that's not an impossible thing to achieve.
Okay, it's just the way you write the grant or whatever
It's,
you ask for.
yeah, because they use one curriculum, we use a different
Yeah.
one. Ours, we hope, would be pre-K through 12, so that those kids can begin that foundational build, so that, you know, when we get them to second and third grade, they really
They're
got a
ready,
strong
yeah.
foundation. Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
you bet.
And Dr. Miranda, close on that, really to wrap that up. We're in continued conversations, and we'll continue to update the board as we work with COG, not only on the curriculum that you asked about, Mr. Gagos, but also potential ADA impacts. More than anything, though, the stress is how can we help support a structured environment for all children in SAISD as early as possible.
Thank you, Dr. Gomez. You're now up on summer programming for this summer of 2025.
Okay, so this next report is in alignment with the mission of San Angelo ISD, which all of you are well aware. It's to engage all students in a relevant and inspiring education that produces future-ready graduates, and also the direct connection to the 24-25 Superintendent Board Goals that were adopted in September of 2024. The last regular board meeting, we discussed the Goal 1 under academics, and at that time I told you we would be discussing Goal 2 in this evening's regular board meeting. So Goal 2 is San Angelo ISD will increase the percentage, I just said that backwards, I apologize for that. Goal 1 was not discussed last month, we discussed Goal 2. So let me correct my error there. So this evening we will discuss Goal 1, San Angelo ISD's robust summer academic programming for elementary students identified as needing academic intervention in the summer of 2025. We do have additional summer programs beyond that elementary specific goal. But we'll begin first with elementary because sometimes there's a misconception of summer programming just being summer school. We have multiple different summer programming supports for students and families, so that's why we want to clarify. So to begin in elementary, we will have summer school in the month of June 4th through the 26th, held at both Glenmore and Goliad Elementary. This support is specific to students entering second grade and students entering fifth grade. Sometimes we get questioned, how did the district determine those grade levels? So we have multiple points of progress measuring with data points, which we update the board. Knowing the importance of strong early literacy skills and looking at cohorts of students, we need to provide further support for this current cohort of students entering second grade. They will receive instruction in both reading and math, but a great emphasis on reading specific in that grade. And then in fifth grade, there's a number of factors. I think, Ms. Duncan, we've had multiple conversations over this. There's a number of factors as students finish up elementary and then transition into secondary where they have shorter periods. So the fifth grade to provide additional support for students, again, in both the area of reading and math. Then under emergent bilingual, there are specific administrative codes for emergent bilingual students, and one of those is offering a summer program if you meet certain criteria, which our district does. In Texas Administrative Code, it specifies the grade levels for that program, and those are for students entering kindergarten and first grade. So that emergent bilingual program will be held at Goliad Elementary for students and families in the emergent bilingual classification anywhere throughout San Angelo ISD. Okay, so all of our elementary campuses, if they meet that criteria, and students are entering kindergarten or first grade, that would be the program for support. Now, it does require parents to accept the invitation to participate in that program. So that's the difference there. Parents have to accept it. Then we have continued, as part of the robust program, summer programming support with a partnership with the YMCA. As you are all aware, the YMCA uses our SAISD facilities for childcare. And so as a part of this program, in July, The district and the YMCA will be working together to provide both the academic support in reading and math, but also if childcare is a barrier for families, we have the YMCA partnership for the month of July. That will be specific to those fifth graders, again, who need very structured and specialized support in the areas of both reading and math. And then last, but certainly not least in elementary, is a kindergarten jumpstart program. Not to be a broken record, but we know it's so important for students to have a smooth transition as they enter school and as they change levels. So the kindergarten jumpstart programs offered, this is also important if you've never had to help kindergartners hold a lunch tray or get in the routine of going to school and then a weekend comes and they're like, what do you mean I have to go back to school on Monday? All of those key transitions, them experiencing some of that before the first day of school is huge for their success as they transition. So that will be offered at 4 of our elementary sites, Bowie, Fannin, Glenmore, and Goliad. It's also important that I note, with the partnership with our child nutrition department, all of these campuses will be summer feeding sites to not only the students attending the programs, but to the surrounding area if families want to come and take advantage of that summer feeding opportunity. And moving, it's okay, to middle school. Again, the transition here is so important. Going from fifth grade, it's okay. 5th grade to 6th grade is a huge transition for students and families, sometimes more so for the parents than the students. The students usually adjust to the transition, but it is a time of a lot of questions for families. So at all 3 of SAISD's middle schools, we will host middle school Jump Start. And the major goal of this program is that students experience the campus that they will be attending, that they are familiar with the campus, because in the spring semesters, they go and do tour visits. But that's with everybody from all the feeder campuses. It's a very busy time. The Jumpstart sessions offer a much more targeted focus on, okay, this is what you do when you come to school. This is how you find your classes. This is where you go to the office. This is where you go to the nurse. All those things that children and parents can have as potential concerns, but there is also an academic component. It's balancing those two. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of basic needs. So basic needs of how we do school in middle school, but while we're doing this, we're taking away knowledge and new learning through our academics. So there's your middle school support. And then high school, we have multiple programs. First, you see what is referred to as STEM. So that's support in the areas of math and science classes. As you all are very well aware of the state's end of course requirements, this is small group direct instruction from certified teachers in the areas of math or science where students are still working on successfully completing an end of course. When it says there's session 1 and session 2, what that means is the staff hired to work under those programs will provide that targeted small group instruction at both high schools. So it's not a different set of teachers for each campus. It's, okay, you're the STEM staff that's hired. First, you're serving math and science on this high school campus, and then the next session, you're transitioning over to the other campus. Humanities refers to English in the area of high school and social studies. So again, students needing small targeted instruction in those end of course areas. Then in the month of July, credit recovery support is offered at both of the campuses during the designated time periods for students that are still working to recover credits. Special education has a variety of supports and what's referred to as extended school year. Now that doesn't mean, oh, we just have these students go to school longer. The focus and the target for extended school year is defined by the ARD committee. So the committee of stakeholders who are the decision makers for that student's social, emotional, and academic needs. And that's very individualized from their individualized education plan. The secondary, which means both middle school and high school, will be held at Lakeview. And then elementary extended school year will be held at Lamar. There are regulations. Earlier I mentioned summer feeding. So there are federal regulations for a campus to meet that eligibility. Currently, what our child nutrition department is being told is Lamar would not meet the eligibility to be a free summer feeding site. We do have the majority of our elementary aged materials for the specialized settings at Lamar. So we definitely are not letting that be a barrier. We're having the instruction piece at Lamar and then providing busing to Goliad, which does meet eligibility. So those students and families would still have free summer feeding opportunities. And then last, you see Inspire Special Education. I'm sorry, because in education we have a lot of acronyms. Students that are ARTed and Inspire need additional target behavior supports. We do offer those behavior supports for special education students meeting those requirements at all 3 levels, elementary, middle, and high school. The reason why it says to be determined is the ESY opportunities for those students is very individualized and very targeted. So for example, it can mean we have student A that needs 2 hours a day during the ESY time period. We could have a student that needs 4 hours a day. That's determined by the ARD committee. What we want the board to know is those decisions are taking place with recommendations from the ARD committees at this time, and those services will be provided accordingly. So that's the general information about summer programming. The additional updates to provide the board in that area at the current time is the district has interviewed all qualified staff for the leadership positions. And those positions were all announced and named prior to Easter. Currently beginning today, district teams are interviewing the teachers that have applied for those positions, and they're doing that after school. While all of this is happening, we're right in the middle of 2025 state assessment. So we don't want to interrupt classrooms, we don't pull teachers out, so we interview where schedules are not interrupted. Those began today, will run through about the 29th of April, with all staff being notified by May 2nd if they have a position in the summer programming. It was important from the district to be aligned with the superintendent board goal of the robust program that we had certified staff, and it wasn't an automatic guarantee because staff applied for the program that they would be given a position. We need highly qualified educators at all times, but especially in very limited time frames to work with students who need targeted acceleration during the summer programming. So the reason why you're seeing me instead of some of the other directors that are interviewing or that are working and supporting those programs is because they've been very busy working on interviews. So, any questions I can answer right now about summer programming?
Yeah, are y'all gonna be providing the times, the start times and end times and all that?
Yes, sir.
And you're gonna put it on
Because
the
there are
website?
different hours for each program, for staff and for teachers. So what will happen, Mr. Gallegos, is in the month of May, specific information will go home to families. Like this week, there will be an announcement about summer programming, just the general information that I shared with you. Then as we're continuing to review end-of-year data, and as recommendations are made by teachers and campus leaders on students who need the additional targeted support, then registration forms go home to families. They give all of that information. For example, start time 8 o'clock, end time 12 o'clock, summer feeding until 1 o'clock. All of those options go out with the registration paperwork.
Okay, thank you.
Farah, thank you and all your people for organizing. That's a lot to pinpoint and get done. I want to comment on the Jump Start for middle school and kindergarten, that I really feel like Jump Start really touches those emotions, and in today's world when there's high stress, those kindergartners and middle school kids being able to come and just walk through relieves a lot of anxiety that otherwise they would have. And then in high school, we talk about the math and science. So if I'm right, is that just biology and algebra? And are they testing right after they are in there? And do the kids have to go to these classes?
They don't have to go. They're highly encouraged.
Absolutely. Okay. And-
Now, with retesting requirements, especially with those limitations,
Right.
If you haven't attended like a study session prior, those are the conversations that take place of, here's the testing date, this is what we're doing to support a retest. So,
Okay, good. I love that. And same thing for English 1 and 2 and U.S. history. The test would be immediately afterwards. And they would find out the results before school started?
Yes.
Yes, okay. That also relieves a lot of anxiety and stress. So thank you, Farah.
I also had a comment about the middle school jumpstart. The kindergarten one happened after mine went to kindergarten, but middle school made such a huge difference for my middle schooler that every year I encourage parents to plan your summer trips and gatherings around the middle school jumpstart. So do you know when those dates will be available yet?
yes, we can go back to that.
Oh, sorry. I apologize for missing that.
It's okay. So, Ms. Mazel-Flint, there are
Oh, I see.
3
Okay.
different sessions that are offered. So session 1 is June 4th and 5th. Session 2, June 9th and 10th. And session 3, June 11th and 12th.
Perfect, thank you. That it just made, like you said, it made such a big difference for not just the kids, but for the parents, for you to send your kids to middle school and be like, oh, they are okay when I pick them up. And they actually did have fun and they made friends. So thank you for putting that together again this year. And then I just wanted to ask a quick question about the extended day, the kids who go to Lamar for extended day. And you said they go to Goliad for lunch. Why do they go to Goliad and not a closer
Because we can't
campus?
feed them as part of the summer feeding program. Due to the federal requirements, Lamar doesn't meet that threshold.
Right, but there's not a closer campus that they could go to?
No, not because we're running them within the programs. So again, it costs the district to open up a kitchen, to operate out of the kitchen. So we're offering them at centrally located areas throughout the community. And another goal that all of those students have, many of them transportation are part of their services. So it also gives staff opportunity, students opportunities, and again, very important, parents opportunities of, okay, when your student rides the bus, if your student has a bus monitor, if your student requires a wheelchair lift, all of the things. You also get to work through that in that shorter time period, which helps with any anxieties or concerns as well.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Yes. The families if they don't wish to take up the free transportation, they can still transport. And they could go to any one of those programs. But at this case, at this time in the school year, you would be looking at Goliad or Lakeview. So to keep just kind of the same age as the other programs, that's why Goliad was selected.
Any other questions for Dr. Gomez? Just a reminder, so all of those students will be identified before the end of school.
Yes, sir.
And that information will be given to parents, and we will continue to provide the opportunities for parents and children to take up these resources. But that will all be given to them before the school year is out.
Absolutely. All of that information. In fact, we have general communication going out to families this week, and all the specific registration paperwork goes out in May.
Thank you, Dr. Gomez.
Just a quick question. So some of these programs we've already had, but some of these are brand new. Is that right? Or
We've had the ESY, the Emergent Bilingual, some of the changes, like we've had high school, I'll say end of course preparation, which is probably what most teachers are accustomed to. A big change in the way we're offering that support this year is holding tight to the curriculum that's used with a very well-defined plan in the time period before the test, with our restructuring of our instructional coaches throughout the district, but especially for high school, where prior to this year we did not have instructional coach support in a number of years. Since that had gone away, The ICs have built that very structured curriculum plan because there are a limited number of days before the retest opportunity. So that's a difference with that program. Also this year, you've heard us share updates on a program that was approved for additional supports for students who needed. I think it's important to clarify. This support is for students needing additional support, but also that need enrichment through the IXL program. That's a computerized program that students have an individual pathway. Now in this setting, to allow teachers to have the small groups, which we tend to think more of an elementary level where teachers can call back a group of students, then we will have additional staff monitoring as students are working on the IXL program. So that's a difference in that area, Dr. Mills. Credit recovery, there's not a change other than having the focus on that program in the month of July. It's important that the district offers those opportunities, but it's more important that we have structures during the regular school year for students to be successful and to take advantage of the supports during the regular school year and not think the only time to recover credits is through the summer months. We have to change that mindset of, I'll just get that credit in the summer. No, we need to be working on a daily basis during the school year to get that credit. In the area of elementary, the grade levels change depending on student needs. And then the addition in this area is specific to the robust partnership with the YMCA. The YMCA has used our facilities for as long as I've been in the district. The change, though, is we're saying you're on our facilities. There's no cost for you to be on our facilities. You offer childcare to the entire community, which does include students outside of SAISD. So the district's ask is that we work in partnership so families don't have a barrier to childcare. And so that students coming to be served by our staff during the designated time frame can then have an opportunity for childcare if families need them to stay due to work, et cetera.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gomez. Do you need some water?
Nope.
All right. We're going to do the teacher incentive allotment expansion.
Previously, we've had board updates on the teacher incentive allotment, also referred to as TIA. This evening, we want to give you an update, and I'll start first with a little bit of an overview. This is information you've heard before, but it's important that we just recap. So, again, we are very acronym rich in the field of education. When you see TIA, what does that mean? That means there is a designation for districts to apply for teachers to meet one of the following categories. The top 5% in the state, so please note that's the state of Texas. That's not to any one school district. That's all teachers across the state. Exemplary and recognized. In the current system, if a teacher holds a national board certification, they automatically receive the recognized designation. So that's just the recap. Now, a district's local designation has to include two components. Doesn't matter what district you're in the state of Texas, you have input on how you define those areas, but one must be on student growth and the other must be on the teacher evaluation. So to recap, where are we in the process? Last year, San Angelo ISD submitted and received approval on our application. What that means is this year, the 24-25 school year, was our first data capture year. So as a part of that process, by data capture, the designated grade levels in our plan for both the student growth and the teacher observation, we're collecting data to submit to Texas Tech University and then ultimately to TEA to determine if a teacher falls in one of those statewide categories from both the student growth and their T-test evaluations. Now, the process is not automatic. I know last month we even discussed this. So while this year is our data capture year, and I'll review those levels in just a second, teachers that make designations, they don't receive those designations and the additional compensation until the spring of 2026. So that's just our recap. We started slow in our initial rollout. So this year, first year of implementation, in our plan, we have 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math and reading, English 1, English 2, and Algebra 1. So those are the teachers that we will be submitting at the end of this school year to see if they meet designation in one of those defined areas. Now, once a district has an accepted application, your application's accepted. But if you want to make any changes to your application, you have to submit what is called an expansion application. So through this process, it was a very broad group that first determined this year's group of teachers. We took that to leaders, district and campus level leaders, and to SAISD's community-based accountability system, where we have over 100 stakeholders. So coming up for this year for expansion applications for any district in the state that already had an approved application were due by April 15th. The district completed their application and submitted. As you all are aware, we took the information to our CBAS committee as well for considerations for that expansion application. It's important to note that while we had in our original application, we had kind of a proposed 5-year rollout. Year 1, the teachers I just clarified. Year 2, we were initially considering adding 3rd through 5th math and reading. So all year, while officially 6th through 8th math and reading, English 1, English 2, and Algebra 1 are official teachers under data capture, we've still been working and training elementary leaders to be fully prepared to start implementation for data capture with the 25-26 school year. But then we're in a very active legislative session, and there are 2 bills that brought needed further discussion around teacher incentive allotment. You may have read or heard about Senate Bill 26 or House Bill 2, which both of these proposed additional funding for teacher incentive allotment. The reason why this is so important, as I just reviewed in our recap, if you don't have designated teachers and grade levels in your plan, it's multiple years out before those teachers can receive designations and potential additional compensation. So both of these plans propose to add additional funding to the state's TIA allotment. Because remember, this additional compensation, if a teacher meets one of those designated areas, does not come from the local school district's general fund. This money comes from the state. Okay? So what these plans propose in the legislative session is the addition of a 4th tier. Went over the Master Exemplary Recognized, they propose an Acknowledged tier. They propose expanding the TIA designations to including the top 50% of teachers in the state of Texas. So what the district had to consider was, when we submit our first expansion application, or when we did we want to reconsider only adding 3rd and 5th math and reading? Did we want to look at potentially adding additional grade levels in content areas so our teachers would have the opportunity for additional compensation? Going through that process, the final decision was made to add the following to the plan, beginning with the 25-26 school year. Pre-K reading, 3rd through 5th grade math and reading. Okay, that was part of the plan all along. 5th grade science, 8th grade science, and biology. 8th grade social studies and U.S. history. One of the bullets is not showing in the slideshow, I'm not sure why. Kinder and 1st grade reading. I don't know how it got cut off. So in essence, what that does is from pre-K through high school, teachers have eligibility around the area of literacy. We know the importance of strong literacy for all of our students. The difference is the assessment tools. In our current plan, in our original proposed plan, the measure for the student growth was MAP. For pre-K, again, I don't know how many of you have used or taught a pre-K student. We would love to have any of you come and serve lunches at the beginning of school, just help them hold their trays, especially open ketchup or milk. But to have a pre-K student just test, like the MAP test is given for older students on a computer, is not the avenue the district wanted to take. So the assessment specified for pre-K was CIRCLE, or CLI, which our teachers currently administer. So our teachers are familiar, and families that have had students go through the programs are familiar with that assessment. For kindergarten and first grade, the decision was not made to use MAP because, again, of the delivery of the assessment on the computer. So the decision for kinder and first grade was specific to M-Class, which you hear us report on, the early literacy assessment. Again, teachers are familiar of the assessment. Now, one of the things as we've listened and taken feedback from campus principals and teachers is the amount of time it takes for the assessments. To assist in the earliest grades, kinder and first, with this addition will be the creation of a district assessment team. So there's assistance for those teachers because of the way the administration of the assessments have to be given. And then starting in second grade, we would use MAP as our measure for reading. So I know that's a lot of real in the weed details, but when you expand your application, you have to specify the assessment. For all of the other areas, 3rd through 5th grade math and reading, we have the MAP option. 5th grade, 8th grade, and biology, we have MAP. We're already administering MAP. 8th grade social studies and U.S. history, there is not an option for MAP. So we've been working for about a year now on looking at additional assessment options, and the decision has been made to use the only option that's not teacher-created assessments, which is called Exploros. And so there's a pre and post test through this vendor that districts can use. Staff can't preview the assessments in advance, but they assign the assessments so that a district has pre and post test information. And that's the last on TIA. Again, that was some real in-the-weed information in terms of assessments, but we really wanted the board to hear the potential compensation options for our teachers in core academic areas beginning in pre-K.
So, and like Dr. Gomez said, obviously the TIA funding is tied to socioeconomic status of an elementary school or of a middle school. So it looks to help our schools that are at the lowest end of the socioeconomic, help attract even better teachers and give those teachers that are master teachers, exemplary teachers, the ability to get rewarded for their work they're doing on those campuses. And I think that's important to realize that we're doing, as a district, we're trying to do everything we can to figure out how to make our teacher salaries as competitive as possible and give those teachers an opportunity to get rewarded for being masters at their trade. Any other board comments or questions for Dr. Gomez?
Well, yeah, and really my comments on your last presentation on the academic programs for this summer. We got a lot of stuff going on, and that's exciting, and that's good that we're providing a lot of things that most places can't provide, and that's a good thing. And I was going to ask Dr. Moran, and maybe, I don't know if it's a good question to ask you right now, but it's just with what just passed, the voucher program that just got passed. Okay, will any of that affect this funding that we get for these summer programs and all that we get?
Well, there's an argument to be made that the $1 billion that's being used for vouchers could have gone to public schools. And that's why there was such a push against that from rural Texas. So, the argument could be made from both sides, but that's the argument against the vouchers, is that money could have been used, and the projection is in the next biennium, it could cost the state up to $7 billion. And that's perpetual. So I think that, the reality is there is a financial impact, and it just depends on how you want to split that and thread that needle. But that's my perspective.
Like I said, that's all that stuff you were talking about, your summer programs from kindergarten all the way to high school. There's a lot of things, a lot of resources these kids can use, and they can go take advantage of them. So that's a good thing. And thank you again, Farrah.
All right. Next, we're going to move on to an update on TEA accountability rating.
So last week in the pre-agenda, we provided some information, and for several weeks now, since the litigation ruling, we've been providing information. I want to give credit where credit is due, so a few of these slides come straight from John Fessenden. If we've shared information from Mr. Fessenden in past presentations, but to recap, Mr. Fessenden is an educational consultant that works with school districts, region service centers, and even the education agency itself on data analysis and specific to accountability. So in our field, he's one of the leading contributors around understanding state and federal accountability. So this humorous slide is his creative genius on some of those images there. Again, that is not mine, so please note all credit there goes to Mr. Fessenden. It's important, the recap on this is specific to A through F ratings, because the update is not about any data. The update is simply tied to the A through F ratings from the state. So the overview here is understanding the A through F ratings history. This began in 2017 through 2018, and with that first year, districts only received ratings. So the individual campuses within those districts did not. Then in 2018, 2019, you had both districts and campuses receive an A through F rating. Then, unfortunately, we went through a very difficult time, and you had 2 years under COVID where no ratings were issued at all from the agency. In 21-22, there were ratings of ABC or not rated because we were coming out of a period where a lot of students and families had gone through non-traditional educational experiences. Then that leads us to 22-23, which are the ratings that are about to come out. Also important, I know you all are well aware, these ratings that are about to come out, the letter grades, are coming out this week on Thursday during the time where every school district in the state of Texas is testing for the 2025 school year. So there's been a lot of time lapsed. And so the reason why it's saying a refresh is there was a litigation over the ratings, because in conjunction here, you have this timeline, but you had a change in the assessment itself. You all heard us give updates from, yes, it's called the STAR test, but when the agency changed the test, you heard it referred to as STAR 2.0. So it's important to go through that history and knowing that since the 22-23 school year, we have not had official ratings released, and this was the year where there were changes to cut points and methodologies as well. The 23-24 ratings are still blocked, so districts don't have those letter ratings. And again, here we are, 2025, and we're currently testing. There are two key aspects under A through F accountability, from the calculation component and the scaling or the grading. So the reason why it's important that we're all reminded of this, again, is sometimes there are comparisons made to the last data subsets or the last letter grades released, but you have to understand the key aspects of the accountability system, because you cannot always compare one year to the next, and have what's in simplistic terms an apples to apples comparison. So you have both the calculation and the scaling that are used to determine a district and campus's A through F letter grades. There are multiple measures and indicators. This gets way in the weeds here. I'm not going to spend too much time on each one of these other than reviewing, because sometimes people think it's just students' achievement. There are multiple factors: achievement, academic growth, and then post-secondary readiness. So in 22-23, in the area of STAR performance, just how a student did, there were no changes in the calculation. Again, this next line, I want to give John Fessenden credit here because he used a little bit of humor, and even the type of font and the size of font he used in the next area, which is CCMR, College Career Military Readiness. This is super important. So there were changes in the area of CCMR. These changes, that's why it says humongous there, led to many of the districts that engaged in the litigation with the Texas Education Agency. For secondary campuses and for district ratings, those changes had potential large impacts on districts, and those that engaged in the litigation said there was not sufficient time given to districts and campuses to know those changes before the agency put them in place. Graduation rate, there were some changes in the grading, but they weren't significant. They were just an increase on rigor. Now, academic growth. Dr. Kingman, a few minutes ago, you mentioned our low socioeconomic campuses. This area for academic growth was a major part of the changes in methodologies moving to that 23-24 school year. So campuses of high, low socioeconomic status oftentimes don't meet the state's mark on the achievement portion of STAR performance alone, because there are additional supports needed for students coming from poverty. But every educator can stand behind, regardless of the needs a student enters in our school buildings, we should be growing students. So that component of academic growth is of major importance to your high or low socioeconomic campuses. And so just want to point out that was a completely new calculation, again, leading to many of the districts' dismay and use our reasoning for engaging in litigation. Then relative performance, very minor there, minor changes. And then lastly, domain 3. This wasn't a major area. This is, as we move forward, I'm going to show you some more specific areas under domain 3. So this next graphic is just a reminder for the board and for the public to understand you can't simply look at 2022 to 2023 and think it's a like comparison. They are two different systems. If you do that, you would be comparing apples to oranges, so it's not an equal comparison. So what's new with the overruling of the litigation? What did districts receive last Thursday, and what will be posted publicly for all stakeholders this Thursday? Is the only change is the release of ratings themselves, the letter grades. So districts received in November of 23 the data and have been using that data to make academic adjustments according to campus and district need. But they did not have official A through F grades. That's what will come out this Thursday. It's not new, but it's just a recap. That's from the 22-23 school year. The 23-24 school year is still under litigation. 24-25 ratings are currently scheduled to be released this fall. Now, in a previous slide, I said domain 3, and I said domain 3 will be important, okay? And so what I want to point out there is the emphasis on CCMR and its impact, especially to high school campuses and the district rating in domain 3. So you have all of this happening with a change in the methodologies and the cut points. And then San Angelo ISD had a very unusual, the only time this has happened in the district's history to any of our knowledge, a data submission error that's specifically impacted reporting in Domain 3 for CCMR for Lakeview High School. So the district, since we had the data, made immediate action steps to put additional measures in place, and also had reached out to the agency on what are next steps. A district, our campus, could not move forward with next steps, which through this process is called an appeal process, until letter grades were released. So even though we're talking about 22-23 data, we could not appeal the data until it comes out officially, which for schools, that was last Thursday when it was released until. So the district does plan to participate in the appeal process for both the Lakeview rating and the district rating. That data submission error is a system error. It does plan to impact our campus rating of a full letter and the district rating of a full letter. So that's just general information. I can answer further specifics or take questions now.
In that appeal, Farrah, I mean, are we going to provide, I mean, we have the actual numbers then, right?
Mm-hmm.
That were missed on that data entry? And
Yes.
so that'll be used, and we appeal it, so they can come out with, it'll improve that once we provide it. It should.
Not necessarily, Mr.
Yeah,
Diego.
no.
So the agency
say no,
can still. Mhm. What's most important for everyone to be informed of, more than the letter grade, is the data itself and the academic implications. Because when you receive state assessment data at the end of the year, that's rear view mirror data, right? Those students are gone to the next grade. All of that has passed. But you use that data to make informed decisions on your systems and processes. So what this did was, during a time where there was a change in the methodology, we had a very unusual situation, which also further impacted it. However, immediate action steps were taken to the systems and processes, not waiting for the agency to put out letter grades.
And which report was that going to?
I'm sorry?
That data, which report was that going to?
So there's an electronic submission. Somewhere in the electronic submission, in June of that year, the data was dropped.
Submitting to what, to PEAMS or to, okay.
Yes, sir.
And then they use the PEAMS report to come up with their taper report, is that correct?
To come up with your
The
overall
Texas-
ratings.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay, all right.
Other further board comments or questions? So we know that in our I'm going to screw up the years. So this is 22, 23. So we know in our 23, 24, because we got our data in November from our 2023, 24, that the system error had been corrected as far as being able to submit all data appropriately for the following year.
I'll provide some further specification there. So it's for the 22-23 school year. In the June data submission, there was some data dropped. In October of 23, the district was able to identify that there was missing data. But in November of 23, it was when we got officially from TIL the data subsets. Okay, so that's where it gets a little blurry, because you had the official release in TIL. But then, additionally, Dr. King, which was I think what you might be asking, that was for the 22-23 school year. For 23-24, we don't have the official release on letter grades, but we do have our data subsets released in TIL, and we already know from that data ratings would be very different, that there was an unusual circumstance in that data submission.
So although we were not part of the litigation that prevented our letter grade from coming, and although we couldn't appeal till these letter grades are released on the 24th, we know that the system error that was a part of the 22-23 situation is not going to be replicated because we already have our data, our core data, even though we don't have a letter grade for our 23-24 data. We know that those errors have not been replicated.
That is correct. We also have initial planning data for the 24-25 with those systems that were put into place immediately with the discovery in October of 23 to show that the district is tracking substantially higher.
Any other?
Do we have any idea when the 23-24 data will be released?
It's still under litigation.
I'll comment on that. We'll see if I get it right. But so I anticipate 2025 ratings will come out in September, which logically means that there should be a release of 24 data between now and September. But that's logic, and you never know.
So as Dr. Moran said, that's logic. So under litigation was the same appeal that the 15th Circuit overturned. So I think logically we would have information, but all we can say is it's under litigation. But the 24-25 data is scheduled to be released in the fall.
So are they planning to litigate the 24-25? I'm guessing? Because they did already for all these other ones.
I would anticipate it would be, yeah.
The most important thing, litigation or not, is the information that the data gives us on what changes may be needed to systems and processes to best serve students. So the only addition is a letter grade. None of us are saying we don't have continued work and efforts that need to take place. What we are saying is there have been multiple changes to support students, specifically in the area of academic growth. So regardless of economic status or what school they attend, students have the highest learning opportunities we can provide.
I think what you just said, Dr. Gomez, is real important because it's our campus's job to support our students, and then it's administration's job to support our campuses, and it's our board's job to support our administration. And when that's not happening, that's a failure up, down the board. And it's important to recognize that we've made a mistake in not having that data submitted correctly, but that the systems are in place to make sure that that can't and won't happen again. So that's my take. Any other questions or comments regarding the TEA accountability rating that we will get on Thursday? Thursday?
They'll be made public on Thursday, yes.
All right. Next is me. Dr. Gomez, you get to sit down. So we have the annual required hours of continuing education for the school board members, and I have to say this publicly. So Ms. Arroyo is at 9.25 hours, Mr. Dindal 12.25, Mrs. Duncan 12.25, Mr. Gallegos 15.25, I'm at 11.5, Mrs. Mizell Flint is at 26.0, and Dr. Mills is at 13.25. We are required to get 5 additional CMEs a year, and then 2 hours of safety training, which were completed by all returning board members, yes, and everyone has met their number of hours. Any questions regarding that? All right. Next, we have consent items A through D. Item A is donations. B is our minutes from our March 10th and March 24th meetings. C is bid 20-014, which was a one ad on our curriculum and instruction materials. And D was superintendent's recommendations for the 25-26 teacher and other professional contracts, which was given to us as a separate document last week. Any board comments or questions on consent items A through D? Do I have a motion to approve consent items A through D?
Make a motion to approve consent items A through D.
Motion from Mr. Gallegos. Do I have a second? And a second from Mrs. Arroyo. Any further board questions or comments? All in favor say aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 7-0. All right, next we have action items. We have our bills, accounts, and financial statements for March 2025. Any questions or comments? We went through this obviously at our pre-agenda workshop. Any questions or comments regarding our bills, accounts, and financial statements?
Dr. Kingman, just a note to the public that all these reports were reviewed at our pre-agenda meeting last Monday, I believe, and all these reports can be found online in their entirety. If you go to SISD website, there's a bold tab called the district tab, and there's click on the district tab, and under that there's a tab called financial transparency where you can find all these reports. And with that, I'd move that we approve the bills, accounts, and financial statements for the month of March 2025 as attached.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Dindal and a second from Mr. Gallegos. Any other board comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 7-0. Next is considering presiding judges and alternates for the election on May 3rd, and Dr. Brandon's going to help us with that.
Dr. Brand, Dr. Kingman, Board of Trustees, you have the list of election judges and alternates in front of you. Each year, the county elections administrator selects those individuals and provides the training. The school board does have an opportunity to review the list of judges. Administration would make a recommendation to approve the list of judges and alternates as presented.
Any further board questions or comments regarding the approval of the presiding judges and alternates for the election on May 3rd, 2025? I have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the presiding judges and alternates as presented by the Tom Crean County Elections Administration.
So a motion from Dr. Mills. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second from Mr. Dindal. Any further board comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All against say the same. Motion passes 7-0. All right, Mr. Henry, Lakeview Chiller Replacement, RFQ 25-004.
Thank you for having me here tonight. During the 23-24 school year, the maintenance department encountered increasing issues with the chiller system at Lakeview High School. This critical chiller provides cooling for a significant portion of the main building, including administrative offices, the dining hall, and over 40 classrooms. With the maintenance department successfully maintaining its operation throughout the school year, the system experienced irreparable freon leaks in July, necessitating a full replacement. Park Hill architects and engineers were engaged and assessed the situation and developed comprehensive plans for the chiller replacement. A request for qualifications was issued to identify qualified companies capable of executing this complex project. The district received 7 total bids from 5 different companies. Following a thorough evaluation process based on predefined scoring criteria, Accurate Air Solutions of Abilene demonstrated the highest overall score and presented the most economically advantageous proposal with the lowest price. The administration recommends that San Angelo Independent School District Board of Trustees approves the award of the Lakeview Chiller replacement contract to Accurate Air Solutions of Abilene for a total contract price of $430,149.38. This amount includes a contingency of $50,000 to address any unforeseen issues that may arise during the project. Do y'all have any questions over this?
Mr. Henry, I saw we got 2 bids. Both are reputable and dealt with the district before.
Yes. Accurate Air, the last big project that they did for us was the replacement of all the HVAC units on Lincoln Middle School, and they were the subcontractor under Schneider, and they did an excellent job.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Henry.
When are they gonna start? I mean, I know after we approve this, but when do they plan on?
It takes probably 3 weeks to just get through contracts and submittals and bonding and everything like that.
Will they have it done by August?
We are shooting to do the replacement. It'll probably end up with the lead time and everything. It'll probably end up being Christmas next year
Oh, when we do it?
when we are
Christmas break.
start and finish, all
Start-
during the
start.
Christmas break.
All right. Any further board questions or comments regarding the Lakeview chiller replacement? This will come out of fund balance, unassigned?
Yes.
Any other board questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
Dr. Kingman moved to approve the award of the Lakeview chiller replacement contract to Accurate Air Solutions of Abilene for a total contract price of $430,149.38. The amount includes an owner's contingency of $50,000 to address any unforeseen issues that may arise during the project.
Second?
So I have a motion from Mr. Dindal and a second from Mrs. Mizell Flint. Any further board questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All against, say the same. Motion passes 7-0. Next item was item D. That employee has resigned, so although the board was prepared to terminate that contract, that will not be required this evening. So there will be no action on item D. With that, we have announcements. Early voting is April 22nd through 29th, 2025. Election day is May 3rd, 2025. The Finance and Pre-Agenda Workshop is May 12th at 5:45. The regular board meeting is May 19th at 5:45. And with that, we will be adjourned. Thank you all.